You're not indecisive. You just don't trust yourself yet. That's not a flaw. It's a symptom of living in a world that teaches you to outsource your truth. From a young age, you're trained to second guess what you feel, what you want, and what you know. You're rewarded for obedience, not inner clarity. So when you grow up and face a real decision, where no one can tell you what's right, you feel stuck. You try to think your way into certainty, but the more you think, the more lost you feel. We often confuse indecision with lack of logic. But if you're being honest, you probably already know what you want. What you don't know is whether you're allowed to want it, whether it's the right choice, whether it will upset someone, whether it's too risky, too different, too big, or not big enough. So you label yourself as indecisive to cover up the real fear. What if I choose and regret it? What if I choose and still don't feel whole? This is exactly what Arjuna experienced in the Bhagavad Gita. He wasn't confused about facts. He knew who stood on each side of the battlefield. He knew the rules. He knew his role. But he was paralyzed, not by lack of knowledge, but by the weight of his inner conflict, the fear of hurting others, the fear of stepping into power, the fear that even if he won, it might cost him his peace. His indecision wasn't intellectual. It was spiritual, emotional, existential. And Krishna didn't respond with a checklist. He didn't lay out pros and cons. He didn't give Arjuna a guaranteed outcome. Instead, he brought him back to the root, Dharma, sacred alignment. He told Arjuna, do what is true, not what is easy, not what is perfect, not what guarantees victory. Do what is true to you, then let go of the results. That is karma yoga. That is action without fear. That is trust. And that's where most of us struggle, not in knowing what we want, but in trusting ourselves enough to move without proof. We wait for guarantees before we commit. We want the fear to go away before we take the step. But real clarity comes after we act from truth, not before. You don't build self-trust by waiting. You build it by walking. In Sanskrit, there is a powerful word, shraddha. It is often translated as faith, but it's deeper than that. It's the kind of trust that doesn't depend on outcome. Shraddha is when you plant a seed and water it, even though you have no proof it will grow. It's when you choose the path that feels most honest, even if it terrifies you. It's when you say, I don't know what will happen, but I know I can meet it from my center. So when you're caught in indecision, the first question isn't, what's the right choice? The real question is, what would I choose if I fully trusted myself? What would I choose if I stopped asking for permission and started listening to my own inner wisdom? What would I do if I believed that getting it wrong doesn't mean I'm unworthy, but it's simply human? This is where Dharma meets you, not at the perfect answer, but at the moment of alignment. At the moment where you finally stop trying to predict your future and start trying to live your truth. And the beautiful thing is, once you take that step, the fog starts to lift. Not because you suddenly have all the answers, but because you are no longer at war with yourself. You're not indecisive. You're learning to trust again. And that's a sacred process. You're unlearning the noise that made you doubt yourself. You're remembering how to hear your own voice beneath the shoulds and the fears. This is what it means to live dharmically, not perfectly, but honestly. Not without fear, but beyond fear. Not to please others, but to align with something deeper inside you. Most people don't realize this, but clarity often comes after the choice, not before. You don't think your way into certainty. You walk into it. There's this quiet turning point in every meaningful decision, where you stop needing proof that it will work out and start asking whether it's yours to do, regardless of the outcome. That's the moment something inside begins to steady. Not because you know where the road leads, but because you know where you're standing now. The world keeps telling you to figure it all out. But wisdom whispers something else. Decide who you want to be in this moment and let the path reveal itself from there. Because no matter what happens next, that part is always within your control. The rest will come. And when it does, it will meet someone who's no longer waiting to be ready, just willing to be real.